gonna pick one. So there you go, O is over there. Player one's turn. So I'm gonna put, let's go in this position. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 position. I'm gonna hit. Welcome everyone to an all new video of Coding Cleverly. Today we're gonna have another project. So I'm really excited to tell you today's project. Today's project is gonna be about a tic-tac-toe game. So it's a terminal-based game we're gonna be making, and it's gonna be really fun. So all we have to do is first open up our IDEs. Whatever you are using, you can open up. I'm gonna use my respective IDE, which I'm using through the series. So the basic concept here is that tic-tac-toe is a game played between 2 players. So you could play with another friend. And the other thing is that the concepts I'm going to write down, and I'm going to teach you how to apply them, and you can modify them to make the game even better. And the other thing over here is that the game is terminal based, so it's going to be based on the terminal black screen. And you could also implement GUI, graphical user interface, to make it more better, but again, I would say it's just the concepts I'm explaining, and I'm also going to be showing you how it will be working. Okay, so apart from that, in the previous videos, I have been discussing about multiple files. So we're going to be using that kind of concept in this project. So we're not going to be using exactly one file. We're going to have 3 multiple files, and we're going to split our logic up from the functions what we're going to define, and the functions which we are going to declare, and also the main driven logic, which is going to be in a separate file, conventionally as the main.cpp file. Let's get started. So over here I have an untitled one. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to start typing. So I have hash include input output stream, and then I'm using namespace standard. So hash include IOStream using namespace standard. If you haven't watched that namespace standard video, there's a card on the top right corner. And also, if you haven't watched the multiple files video, I also explained that, and you could see a card for that video as well. Now we're gonna have our int main logic here. So we're gonna have it with our squiggly brackets and a return 0 at the end. Let's save this. And now you can see I created a folder here. I basically have a Coding Cleverly folder, and in that folder I created a subfolder which is known as tic-tac-toe, and I'm going to create this and name this as main.cpp. Now you can see it's main.cpp file. Over here there's absolutely nothing right now. So what we're going to do is now we're going to create one more and another. So we have 2 files, untitled 2 and untitled 3. Over here we're going to save this. First we're just going to put a character or something. We're going to save this, and what we're going to do here is we're going to name this as the declaration. So it's going to be called the dec.h. Now over here you're going to have to change the extension. So I over here have here is .h.hpp. So you could write hpp or whatever, and I'm just calling it as dec, so it knows that it's the declaration file. Over here is going to be the definition. So I'm just going to put 1 character, save this, and I'm going to call this as def, and I'm going to change the extension is already by default cpp, so it's going to be saved as a cpp file. Okay, so after having all these 3 files created, now what we're going to do is we're going to go in our main function, and the main concept behind this is that what you're using in the main function, you're going to have to include it. So now the first biggest concept that arises here is that we have 3 files, and we want to link our header file to this main.cpp and definition.cpp. What we're going to do is we're going to write this simple code in our main logic as well as our definition.cpp file. So it's going to be called hash include, and then the double quotes, and then the name of the file. So it's dec.h. all right, you could write dec.hpp, okay, as well, but for here I'm just writing it. So up to you, whatever you want to do. I would copy this, so I'm copying this, and over here in the definition.cpp I have to include the IOStream, which I did in the main logic, and also I'm going to have to paste this dec.cp.h whatever. Now after that, what we're going to do here is we're not going to look at our main right now because we have to define functions. So this is a declaration part, and this is our definition part. So let's look at our definition for now right now. So we're creating a using namespace standard. We're using the standard space standard library of C++. So we could use basic stuff like input, output, C output, and we could also be using endline, string, and so many others. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create something. Global variables I'm going to be creating. Now global are going to be used across the entire file, and local variables are going to be specific to a specific container or something. Like if I have a main logic over here, like a main logic, right? So if I have a main logic and I put something here, I create a variable. Now it's specific to this location. But if I have something that is global, that is defined, like over here, this standard, what I'm using, it's defined globally. Now this means that throughout the entire file, this could be used, implemented. But I could also define this locally as well. Globally defined. All right. So globally defined, we have this, and we have one more thing. So I'm gonna create a board, and it's gonna be an array. String board. Okay. So we have a board, and we know that tic-tac-toe could be a 3x3. Generally a 3x3 matrix, but you could have more than that as well if you want the game to be more complex. But in this case, we're having a 3x3. Now we know that 3x3 is 9 elements, right? So we're gonna have it basically starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now even if we have 9 elements, the computer starts with 0, so we're gonna always have one less than our size. Our size is 9, and we're gonna have a less than that, so the total number is 8, because the computer starts from 0 and still counted as 9. So counted as 9, but it's from 0 to 8. So this is our tic-tac-toe board. This is gonna be our board, but the concept here is how we're gonna store this. We're gonna store this in an array, and I did introduce the array concept way before all of this. So there's a card for the array video. So we're gonna have two variables declared. Both are gonna be globally defined. One is gonna be called the player variable, and this is gonna determine which player. And now I'm gonna have it defined like a player 1 is gonna be the first one, and player 2 or is gonna be 0 and 1. What we have here is we have to create two variables. One is going to be called the player variable, and what the player variable is going to be containing is a specific value, just to not have it garbage, and it's going to accept integers. All right, and then the other variable what we're going to include is a position variable, and this position variable is going to be set to 0. So these are the two variables what we're going to be including. Over here we have a board, and I said it's going to be an array. I know that it's a size of 9, so what it's going to have is that it's going to be a size of 9, and it's going to be storing spaces. So it's going to be with squiggly brackets, and we have these double quotes inside. And I'm just going to put a space over here, and we're just going to keep on doing this. So comma and comma and that. So how much are these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. But we need one more. 9. Okay, so now these are 9, and it starts from 0 to 9. So this is our array of 9 sizes. All right, they're just going to store some character inside. We're going to have now our global variables defined. One is int player, so, and it's going to be set to a value specific, so I'll say 1. Now we have another int position, and we're going to have it value set to something, so we're going to have a value set to 0. Now int player has value 1, int position has value set to 0. So the player is going to be like the one who's going to select a position. So we're going to be using its value over here. And the position is going to be from the 0 to 9 location. So we're going to have it either on the 0 space, on the 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 4 space, anywhere until 8. All right. So that was our range. Now what we can do is we could create our function. What we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to create our board. I'm going to create this function, my first one, and it's going to be called an introduction function, and it's just going to show the board and everything. So what we're going to have is void, and I'm just going to say introduction. The code for this project is going to be on my GitHub repository, and you could copy and paste the code on your screens, and you can modify it and change it however you like. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to create an introduction function, and it's going to have some basic stuff. First of all, it's going to have something like press enter key, I would say enter. I would say press enter to begin. All right, I don't have to have that with no end line, so we're going to have this as this semicolon. Now we're going to have is get character, so I would say get character, and it's just going to get character from the screen. This part over here, get char, will halt the screen, to stop the screen until I press some key on the keyboard. Either it's an enter key or whatever. So I'm just saying in case just to press enter key. So I'm going to say this is going to halt the screen. It halts the screen. So now what's happening after that is that we're going to have to get our board printed out. So I'm gonna have a escape sequence \n over here, and let's have some text into it. So now what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna create my specified board, and I'm just gonna paste this code over here. So I have this tic-tac-toe. It's just an introduction. Over here it says player 1 will be X, player 2 will be O, and you have a 3x3 grid shown below. And then you have this board specified. Now remember here, this is very important, that you have to specify the size here. So I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 spaces here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here, and then 6 over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Over here too, it's consistent. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you could see over here as well. And same over here, 6 is going to be over here, and just 5 and 5 over here. Over here in this case, I put another \n to give another escape sequence, to give another carriage return, to make the formatting more prettier. So after that, this is the conclusion of the introduction function. Now we could save this, and now I want to activate this. So what I'm going to do is, first you have it over here in the declaration.h. Go over here, and what we're going to do is we're going to start by one of our handy header guards we're going to include. So we're going to say pound if not defined, okay? And now we're going to say the name of that. So if not define h, so we say define dec.h. So actually I'm telling you, this is not compulsory to do, but it's a really good practice. So, and I also told the reason behind why we introduce header guards into our header files, and you could check that video out, and I will be linking a card on the top of the screen. So after applying our header guards, we could say preprocessor commands, we're gonna introduce our function declaration here. So the name of the function was introduction. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna write void intro, and we're gonna say duction over here. All right, and I'll have a semicolon at the end. Now this is our introduction here. You could see that the function was over here, introduction, and there was a void, and you could see that the dec.h is included here. Good, dec.h is included here. So hopefully we'll have this running. But over here we want to show it, so we're just going to call it over here. We'll say introduction, and we're just going to paste it here. Now if I call this, now let's see, if I go to my command prompt, you could see over here my path is this PC desktop coding cleverly tic-tac-toe. So I'm gonna get all of this and just copy it. Okay, so I got my path. I go to this place, CMD, and I just put change the directory and put a right click, or just press the control paste button and just hit the enter key. Now you're in that specified path. We're gonna put G++. If you have that G++ compiler installed, and I'm telling you, you should have this installed in order for this to work. If you don't have it, it's not gonna work. So you like run it on your IDE or other things, but I'm gonna run it on my command prompt. So G++. Now I have the main.cpp as that, and before all of that, I could check which files am I seeing right now. So dir is going to tell me that I have a dec.h, I have a def.cpp, and I have a main.cpp. So I want to run only the cpp files. So main, I'm going to say first g++ main.cpp, and I have define.cpp, and I'm just going to name it. Now you can see a -o, and you could just name it as something, whatever you want. So I would say working. Now you can see that it compiled successfully. So now I would say working, and there you go. Now okay, over here what we see is this is saying press enter to begin. I hit the enter button. Now you can see tic-tac-toe, player 1 is X and player 2 is O. The 3x3 grid is shown below. So you have 1, 2, 3, all of this, and this is just our intro. So congratulations, we made one part of our code.
Congratulations!
So now let me exit out this command prompt, and let's go back to our place. So let's check what's our progress here. We have an introduction, and now we have to include more functions. So we created our introduction function, which has a void return type, and it just shows the screen and everything. So it doesn't do anything, it just shows the screen. Next function what we're gonna have is we're gonna define it here, and the function which is gonna be called, it's called the isWinner function, and it's gonna determine how you're gonna win the game. I'm back in my paint, and you could see that we have this board, this 3x3 board. Now we're gonna create a function that is gonna determine how we're gonna win. So we know in a 3x3 board, a tic-tac-toe board, if we have something like if we get 3 matched here or we get 3 matched here, we're going to determine our winner. So we have to tell the computer all these instructions beforehand. We're going to tell that if you have all these 3, like this first 3 row matched, or this second row matched, or the third row matched, then you are declared a winner. So if this is matched, you're a winner. If this is matched, you're a winner. This is matched, you're a winner. If you don't understand tic-tac-toe, go Google it or something. You're going to understand how to play tic-tac-toe. So then after that, columns. So we're going to have, if it's the first column, you could win. If the second column, you could win. If the third column, you could win. So like that. And then remember the diagonal part. So this is the one that's fun. So if you have this one, this one, this one, you win. And if you have this and this and this, you win. So how is it going to be defined? This is 0, this is 1, 2, 3. We're just going to remember the spaces, and we're going to be implementing it through like that. So over here we have a function, and it's going to basically tell me if I win. So you have to use the Boolean variable. So I'm going to give a return type of bool, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say as is winner, and it's going to have nothing inside, and what's going to do is that it's going to be checking the rows first. So I would say checking the rows, and then we're going to have checking the columns, checking the rows, checking the columns, and checking the diagonals. Now I would encourage you to pause the video and try to do this on your own, and if you get stuck or something, you could see the code, unpause it, and then watch my video. So what we're going to do here is, first of all, we're going to check if this and this match, what's going to happen. So we're going to use an if statement here, and then we're going to say if this plus this match, what's going to happen. All right, and so if all of these 3 match, what's going to happen, right? Similar to that, we're going to do that over here, and then we're going to say the same thing over here to here, and we're going to say, okay, if it matches or not. So let's get this started. So how we're going to implement this is, first of all, we're going to say if. Now we know that we have 2 global variables here. One is called the player, one is called the position, and one is the string board. And it's a string type, it's an array of string type. So it has strings over here. You can see those double quotes, and there's a size of 9. So if it's like this, so if board sub 0, now this is the first location, and if it equals, the content inside of it equals to the second one, what's going to happen, right? And then we're going to have this and statement. So we could have something like, have a big parentheses over here, and I'm going to paste it over here as well, and we're going to say ampersand. So if what happens in the second, so if board sub 1 equaling to board sub 2, so what's going to happen? So this is basically going to be the first and second. This is going to be the second and third. So this is the concept here. What we're going to say is board sub 0 is equal to board sub 1, and board sub 1 is equal to board sub 2, and board sub 0 not equal to a space. Then what's going to happen is this thing following. So this is our basic concept here, and this is how we're going to imply it. So what's going to happen is, if this is all true, what are we going to print out? We're going to say winner, and we're going to just say, before that, we're going to create a Boolean. So we're going to say Boolean, and it's going to determine if it's a winner. So this is a return function, and it returns a Boolean. We're going to have this Boolean over here, and it's going to be default to false. Now if it checks and verifies it's all matching to this case, what we're going to say that the winner is equaling to true. Got it? So the same case applies to other cases. So now we're going to try else if. So if board sub 3 is equal to board sub 4, and board sub 4 is equal to board sub 5. So they're just adjacent to each other. So if this one equaling to this, and if this one, so if that's equal, and if this one is equaling to this, okay, and then the last one, if this is not an empty thing, right? If it's not empty, then what's going to happen? You're going to say you won. So with this is, we're going to just print out true. So let me just make this a little more cleaner and show you that this is also like that. So there you go. Now after that, we have this last one, which is board sub 6 and board sub 7, and board sub 7 to board sub 8, and board sub 6 not equal to an empty thing. So what's going to happen here is we're just going to print out winner is equal to true. So that's that, and what's going to happen after that is now we're going to check the column wise. So if we're going to say else if board sub 0 is equal to board sub 3, right? Board sub 0 is equal to board sub 3, and then board sub 3 is equal to board sub 6. And we're gonna also have the AND operator over here, and we're gonna say if board sub 0 not equal to an empty, right? Not equal to just empty string. What's gonna happen? We're gonna set the winner variable to true. So the same case is gonna be applying to 1, 4, and 7, and the same case is gonna be applying to 2, 5, and go back here and let's type the code. So what we're gonna say is else if. Now we're gonna have this inside. We're gonna say if board. So BOARD sub 0, and then we have equaling to, we have board sub 0 is equal to board sub 3, and then we have the AND operator. We say board, so we have another inside of it. What I would do is I would just cut this out and I would just paste it here, and what I could do is over here I'm gonna have this case, and what we're gonna say board sub 0 is equal to board sub 3, and then board sub 3 equaling to board sub 6, and then we have board sub 7, I think so. It's what was it? It was 6. So I think it's rows, and board sub 3 is equal to board sub 6, and board sub 6 and board sub 0 not equaling to empty, right? So if it's not equaling to empty, what's gonna happen? We're gonna have, let me put additional right here so that it matches, and you can see over here this is working flawlessly. Got it, and got it here. Great. Over here you don't have it basically at the end. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna cross this out. This, we don't need this part, and we're just gonna say it's not equal to that. That's it. And we're gonna say if this is the case, what's gonna happen? What we're gonna set is winner is equal to true, right? Now the same goes with the other columns. Gonna apply the same thing in the rest. So we have else if 1, 4, 4, and 7, and then 1 not equal to this. So we're gonna say in this winner. Let me fix that up. So let me go over here and just put this tab over here, something like that, so that you could understand. Over here we're gonna have else if this is board sub 2 is equal to 5, and 5 in that, and then same case over here we're gonna have that, and we're gonna have this over here returning true as well. So now we have the columns done. Now what we're gonna do is the diagonals. Now you know that diagonals are gonna be 0, 4, and 9, and 2, 4, and 6. So how are we gonna do this? We're gonna say else if, the same case, else if, and we're gonna say board sub 0 equaling to sub, so it's board sub 0, so we're gonna have board sub 0 equaling to board sub 4, and then we're gonna have the AND operator, and we're gonna have board sub 4 is equaling to board sub 9, and then we're gonna have AND operator board sub 0 is not equaling to a single thing, so it's filled, right? So what we're going to say is return true. Same goes for here for the other diagonal. Okay, so what we're going to have is board sub 2 is equal to board sub 4, and we're going to have board O-A-R-D, and we're going to have board sub 4 is equal to board sub 6, right? Looking over here, 2, 4, and 6. So this is correct. Let me just put these parentheses on before and after, just to make it neat. And the last one, if, so the AND operator, board sub the 2 not equaling to a space. I'm gonna return. Sorry about that. Just have, it's gonna be winner is equal to true over here as well. So winner is equaling to true. There you go. This goes over here. diagonal. So the last part we're going to have here is return winner. Because it's our function, remember that? So we're going to return winner. And let me save this and show you that right here in the top was Boolean winner. And if it like doesn't match any of them, like it doesn't get true, it's going to return winner, which is false, which was the default value to this. And over here you can see Boolean winner is false. Set to false, it could be true in either of these cases, and if it doesn't match any of these cases, it's just going to be false. So winner is not going to be true. So that was our winner function. Now what we could do is we could just declare it over here. So I would say the Boolean, and I would say is underscore winner. There you go, it's declared here. Now the same thing over here, nothing else we have to do, and we don't have to call it either because it's just basically going to check it. So I did mess up here, and this is 8. Ignore if I did 9 in the beginning, but I know that for a fact that it starts from 0 and ends to 8. The size is 9 right here. There you go. So I want to create a function that would determine whether the board is full or not. And like if it's empty with just an empty string like this, and I know I suck at drawing, but we have to determine if it's empty or if it's full. So we're going to create a function for that. Let's go in our code. So we're going to create a function here in our define.cpp. So the name of the function will be called filled up. So I'm going to give a return type of Boolean because it's just going to be telling the same thing like what we did before. So if it's filled up, all right, and yeah, I didn't want this capital. Let me just delete that, and I'm going to put lowercase. Over here, I'm going to have a Boolean filled is equal to true. So what I'm going to have is, we're going to have like the same thing what we had before in winner function. What we have is we're going to have Boolean filled. So is equal to true. It's going to be set to true. In that case, we had set to false. And here we have set to true. I could create a for loop to loop through the entire spaces. So it's going to go from 0 all the way to 8. And what's it going to check if it's empty or not. And if it's empty, what it's going to be, it's going to return false. So what we're going to say is that we're going to have int I is equal to 0, and we're going to have I is less than 9 because of the size, and then I plus plus here. And what we're going to say is that if that size, so what we're going to say is that if the board, because it's globally defined, so we'd say board sub I, whatever it is, equaling to an empty thing, so we'd say equaling to something empty, what's going to happen is that filled function is going to make filled false. All right, so unless in that case, if all of this is matched, what's going to happen is that what we're going to do is we're going to return the filled as it is. So before we know that filled is true, so it's just going to be true as it is. So that's our filled function, and we just declare it over here. So I'm just going to delete this. What is this slash? And I'm going to put over here Boolean is filled. There you go, and put the parentheses, save it. Now the urge is to make a draw function. Why? Why am I asking for a draw function? The reason behind this is that once you're like selected one, like for instance, I have a cross over here, and now I want to display this board once again. I'm not going to show this only one single time like we showed it in the beginning. I want to keep on showing this continuously until someone's matching. So like for instance, if I say cross, I want to show that on the terminal screen that I placed a cross over here, and I want to make it stay like that for the entire program. So we're going to do that using a function which I'm going to create. And there's going to be no data type, it's just going to be void, and we're going to do this. So basically I have a cross here, I have an O here, I want to do something like that. I'm going to create a function for that. So let's go on our IDE and let's create a function which is void, and it's going to be called draw, and we're going to have something inside. So we're going to have to place the board inside of it once again. There you go. Yeah, buddy. So what we have here is now we have this draw function, and it's just a board again. So what's happening here, I'm just gonna observe that, look at this, 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 and 6, just like we did before. So now over here, instead of having it empty, you have 2 over here, and then you have 1 character here, which is gonna be that number, right? Or which is going to be that symbol, X or O. And then you have, so 2, 3, 4, so like that. So you have 1, 2, you have 2 and 3, 2, 2, and then basically I think it's gonna take, so it's gonna be 1 2 3, and then we have 4 over here. So it's just like that. So similar to that, all of this is going to be defined. So what you want to do here is that I want to be precise here. So look, 1 2 3 4 and 5, 1 2 3 4 and 5, 1 2 3 4 5. So 1 2 3 4 5 6. All right, so that's 6, and that's 6 as well. Over here it's just going to be the same as the one that's on the top, and this one's going to be the same as that. So just implement like that. You're going to have the board over here specified, and you're going to have one space over here. When you ever start, it's going to be 1 2, basically at the 2 at the end. So you have that as well, and then you have a \n, a carriage return, and over here as well. So this was my draw function, and let me save it, and let me just declare it over here. So a void and draw. There you go. Semicolon at the end, saved. Now that we have completed our draw function, now we could like see our screen whenever we like place a move and stuff. All right. Now we want to create another function. And what is this going to be? Is going to be setting our position on the board. So if I have this position and I want to set a position, so now we have another function which is going to basically set the position. What we have here, we're going to prompt the user to select a place to move your screen. So we're not going to say to it 0 to 8. To human nature, we're going to say from 1 to 9, right? So 1 to 9 we're going to say. But now how am I going to like ask it? So I'm going to use the C input, right? What we have. So we're going to have using that to ask the input. And we're going to say, okay, so enter a number between 1 and 9. And once you enter it, it's okay. But if you enter a number greater than 9 or less than 1, you're going to have to be prompted with the same thing. You're going to have to say, please enter a valid number or something. So let's get this code. So what we're going to do is going to go up in IDE, and what we're going to do is I'm going to start setting this code. So I'm just going to say void set position, so underscore position, and what we're going to have here is we're going to set it. So I'm going to do the console output, and I'm going to say player, and I'm going to know that it's player 1 or player 2. So it's going to be player. So the variable which is up here, remember that player is an integer. Don't forget about player. It's 1 over here, board, and also position. Don't forget about that. So player 1. So what's gonna happen here is basically I'm gonna say player, and I'm just gonna prompt it enter. I would say 1 2 9. All right. Enter 1 2 9, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna stop the string over there, and that's how we're gonna do it basically. So a semicolon at the end, and it's just basically gonna keep on doing this, and now it's gonna have a while loop. So it's gonna say while the player is, so I'm gonna say C input, and you're saying here that you want to get the position, right? So the position, and what you do here is that the position has to be in between 0 and 9, right? So what we say is that the position has to be in between 0 and 9. If it's not in between, right? So if it's not in between, what we're going to say, we're going to prompt something like please enter a valid number between, we have now the prompt 1 to 9. So there you go. There you go, at the end. Basically, it's just gonna keep on prompting until we get some kind of proper thing. So what's gonna happen if the user doesn't input something proper? What's gonna happen is that it's gonna command it to please enter a valid number between 1 and 9, and then it's gonna have to flush it. So basically we're having these two things over here. We're having a cin.clear, which is gonna be flushing the buffer, and cin.ignore, what's gonna ignore whatever's in the input buffer stream. So input buffer stream, whatever's inside is just gonna basically ignore it, and it's just gonna wipe it out. Even if there was like stuff like random stuff you put like 10, 100, whatever it was not allowed, it's just gonna wipe it all out, and it's gonna be starting from fresh again. So it's just gonna keep on asking until you give a proper value. So that was one of our functions. So this was one of our while loops, and now we're gonna have a second while loop. Okay, so right now I did over here that the player has the chance to whoever is a one player or two player. So, and the case here is that I have another while loop. Now, if the board position is not equal to something like empty, so like what kind of option could happen, like if you're trying to set it but it's already filled with some kind of other character like X. So what's going to happen is that there's going to be a prompt that says, oops, that position is already filled, and then we're going to say try again, and then we're going to say player, and whoever that player is, 1 or 2, turn 1 to enter 1 to 0, and it's going to basically do this again and again. So this is how it's going to work. And remember that if it's not the proper thing, it's going to keep on saying to it to enter the proper value. So that was our small little set position function. I hope you understood this. So I'm just going to define it over here as well. So we're going to say void, and we're going to say set underscore position. There you go. And just put that, and there you go. So now after that, we should have a function to update the board. Like if you're like placing one character over here like cross, now you're gonna have to update the board, right? So like that it's gonna be permanently over here stored, and you can't like access it. So like if I put a circle over here, like if I put a circle over here, and then it's gonna be updated. So how do I do that? And for that I have another function here. So I'm gonna go out of the set position, and I'm going to define a new function. So this is my update board function, and what happens here is that if the player variable over here, which is an integer, and if it's moduloed by 2 and equaling to 1, so what happens is that set position minus 1 is equal to whatever the position you gave. Like you gave, now remember over here that the position is between 1 and 9, and the board is the opposite of that, so it's 0 to 8. Okay, so that's board, and this is the position, so 1 to 9, and you have to subtract it because you want to match it with the board, right? So how are we going to do it? Like if I give something like 1, it's going to always subtract it by 1 and give me the right location on the board, which is 0. That's the position. If I give a 9, it's going to give me subtracted by 1, and it's going to give me the right position on the board, which is the last one, 8. So that's how we're going to implement this. And it says if that position if it's like that, so if it's the first position and the first guy will have the X on the board, okay, else the other second will get the 0 on the board. So that's how we're gonna do it. So it's gonna have an O on the board. If it's gonna be that, we're gonna have X on the board, and else we're gonna have an O on the board. I hope this was very straightforward and simple to understand. So let me just put this update board as well in my dictionary here. So I would say void update underscore board BOARD semicolon. Okay, over here I have a typo. Just want to fix this. So now we need something that could change the player. Like a player is playing, like we say 1 is playing, right? So he places his position over here, like for instance he says okay, in the middle I have a cross. Now we have to change it to give the second person a try. We don't want one person to have the same functionality. How are we going to do that? There's a code for that. So like if a second person has a turn, now second person wants to do something about it. So what will he'll do, he'll do something like an O over here. So how do I give this functionality that when you're done placing it, it goes back to 1? So yeah, you're thinking of a loop or something like that, but the chances are that this could be done through a simple if statement. Simple if. So how we could do here is that if I go over here in my dev and I just paste this code. So this is a change player, and what's going to do, it's going to say player is equal to 1. So if the player is equal to 1, we're going to have plus plus, all right? And if it's more than that, right, because I know that player is 1. Now if it's more than that, it's going to be plus, and then it's going to be not that, so player minus minus. So this is how we're going to keep on changing the player from 1 to 0, because our player is defined through 1 and 0. So if the player is 1, it's going to be that. If it's not, it's going to decrement, and it's going to be the 0 1. So that was very simple and straightforward. So I'm just going to put this one as well. So void, and I would say change underscore player. Save that. One player, and we want to give it turn. Like for instance, it has to have like the case here. It places its marker and whatever it wants to do. It takes its turn, the first player, and what happens is that when it's done doing it, it transfers its turn to the second one. Second will do something over here and on the board, and then it's going to transfer its turn to the first one. We're going to have to apply this some sort of mechanism, and how do we do this is that we're going to check, because we have a function is winner. So if I say if the winner is not announced right now, the winner isn't announced, and the other case is if that the filled up board isn't filled up, like it's not a tie either, like the full board is filled up, there's no empty space left. So if it's not like that, if these two cases are not satisfied, we're going to set the position using the set position function. We're just going to invoke it. We're going to update the board using the update board, and we're going to change the player, and then we're going to use draw. So basically we're going to invoke 4 functions inside of this function. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create my next function, which is going to be my second last function, hopefully, and which is going to be called take turn. So I'm going to say void, and I'm going to say take underscore turn. So take underscore turn, it would have this, and what would have it inside? So basically if statement, and if it says is underscore winner, so is underscore winner, it's not the case. So we're just going to say if the winner isn't announced. So I would just put an exclamation mark before it, so it's a negation. So if the winner isn't announced, and what happens, and we're gonna have these ampersands. So what we're gonna have is, and the board is not filled, so filled up is not even filled either. So what's gonna happen? We're gonna invoke the function now. We're gonna invoke our 4 functions. What? Set position. So it's gonna basically set the position of whatever you want to set. What's gonna happen after that? It's gonna update the board. So whatever you set, it's gonna update the board. So we're gonna have an update board, and then after that it's gonna say to change the player. So change underscore player. Everyone wants to change the turn, and then after that we want to show the board. So we just want to show it using the draw function. So you can see over here that all of these functions what we were defining really came in use at the end, where we had to make this really long code which was gonna take us forever to solve, but we, with the help of these functions what we already defined, we had to just invoke them, and by invoking them this made our task really easy. So invoking, so I would say invoking the functions, and you can see how this all went well. So let me go in here and let me just change this, and I would say void take underscore turn, and just put a double quotes and save this. Now the last function what I have to declare is the end game function. When you know that the game is ended on a tie note or on a winning note. So how do we update our board, and how do we implement the game through? So here we're gonna have an update. So we're gonna say void underscore game, and what we're gonna have here is basically we're gonna have something that says if the winner is underscore winner is true, right? So if that thing is true, what we're gonna say is we're gonna print out congratulations something, there is a winner, something like that. We'll say something like that. You can write whatever you want, and then after that we'll say else if. So else if it's not the case, what's gonna happen? Or if it's like filled up, right? So if it's a draw, that's the other case. So we're going to say there is a tie. Yeah, there you go. There's a tie. And let me just finish this up. There you go. Now that's our function and game one. So this is how it's going to determine it. We're going to save it over here, and we're going to call it as void end underscore game, and just hit the semicolon at the end. Save it over here, and we just have to invoke now introduction. We're gonna have to invoke this one, which is the take turn, because we have to take turns. That's all we basically have to do. And then the last one what we have to invoke is the end game. So end game. Now I just did 3 lines of code. That's ridiculously easy, but I left all the complexity to us. So here's all our logic what we wrote. Let me like zoom this out so you can see that all of this is inside of these functions, and like you could close them. There's specific details to it, but this is all what we got into it, and it was nice doing it. So now let me just debug it. What I'm gonna do is now I'm gonna go in my location. So this is my path here, coding cleverly. I'm gonna copy this path, and I'm gonna go down, and over here I'm gonna go to change a directory. I'm gonna paste this my current path. So what I could do is first I could use the dir command to just check yes those things are working over here properly. And what I want to do is I want to recompile it. So I would say g++ main.cpp, which was the first one, and definition def.cpp, which was the second. Header files don't have to be called. And then -o, and now I know that working was it, so I'll just rename it to working, same thing. So there you go, you have some errors here. So you have an error here that says a semicolon was at the end of warning, board, and we have our defs.cpp define, we have this board, we have this, I think so we forgot some of the parentheses. So let me go in line number 81. Line number 81. And you can see that over here, we don't have an ending for it. Pity. So let me just fix this up. So actually I didn't close this here. There you go. Now it's okay. So how about over here? Well, it's okay over here. It didn't give a problem. Let's try to compile and run this again. So there we have a little more errors. So over here we have line number 144. We have void update board. It says a function definition is not allowed here before the squiggly token. So update board 144. Squiggly brackets. 144 we have update board, and let's see board. And oh, okay, so sorry, there's supposed to be something inside, but there seems to be some error here. There is else, but what's the difference here? Update board is defined here. There should be a just reason to this. So player modulo 2 is equal to that, board this, and if that's not the case, else, we're gonna have this. So let me just keep on saving and just check if it's gonna work. So it just keep on giving me this error, that's update error, variable or field, update board declared void. Okay, so it's saying it's declared void, set position. It is declared void, so am I returning anything or something? There you go. So we found out our error. So after looking at it closely, this was the error. So over here I forgot a squiggly right after this. So now you know that this squiggly I forgot. So let me save this. And now let's compile it. And then we got it successfully compiled. Yay! Okay, so we got it successfully compiled. Let's go in the full screen mode. And hopefully now it's going to work. So just going to call my function. So over here my game started. So let's just check it out. So press enter key to begin. Okay, tic-tac-toe. You have X and O. A 3x3 grid is shown below. So you have player 1. Enter a number from 1 to 9. So I would have, let's see, I want the 9th one. So I'm going to hit the 9. Now you can see that X is placed here. Super cool. Now what's going to happen after this? The game paused. On an error, and really it took me so long to find out that I mistakenly I wrote is filled instead of filled up. So I just changed this up because definition was something else and the declaration was something else, but the compiler wasn't giving any error. It just ran the code, and I was facing errors on that. And the second thing over here, which was the biggest, is that instead of while loop, because I want to take turns, so I wasn't having the capability of taking turns. So is winner function and is filled function, if these things are not true, right, you're gonna have to do these things again and again and again. So I had to put a while, instead I put a if, and that was the problem here I was having. Other cases here that I just fixed up this along the way, when I just made the command prompt a little prettier by just saying enter 1 to 10, 9. Instead I had this enter 1:10. So now I could save this code. So save this, go to my CMD. So I'm going to my CMD. I'm also going to open up my file over here. So I'm just going to copy this path. And now we're going to paste it over here. So change directory and paste it over here. Now we're in here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put G++. We're going to have a drum roll, please. So we're going to have a drum roll, please. So what we're going to do now is drum roll, please. G++. Now we're going to have main.cpp. Now we're going to have the other one, which is define.cpp. And we're going to name it as something. So by default, it's named as A. So I'm going to keep it as A. So CPP. Let me just compile it. So it's compiled successfully. Now let's run it. So A, and there you go. Press enter to begin. I hit the enter key. Now it's a tic-tac-toe. Player 1 X, player 2 O. The 3x3 grid is shown below. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So player 1 turn. I'm going to enter 5. So let's see, in the middle. It's supposed to be in the middle. And I'm player 1, so I'm going to have an X. So there you go. X, yes. Player's 2 turn. So get a friend and play with him. So he's going to pick 1. So there you go. O is over there. Player 1's turn. So I'm going to put let's go in this position. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 position. I'm gonna hit 7. There you go, right here inside. So now player 2. Player 2 says I want to stop him from getting a diagonal. So he's gonna go 3. So he's gonna go 3. There you go, right there. So what I'm gonna say, let's go to, let's say 6. So we'll try 6. And oh shit, the players 2 says I got my chance of winning. So what it does is now it's gonna get its chance by 2's turn. So it's just gonna go in the center one. So there you go, 2, and there you go. There is a winner, and that was our code, and it broke. So you could test it out with other cases. You could do a best of 3, best of 5 using a for loop, and also send me your code if you're done with this project. And if you have any questions with this project related to anything, I would be willingly answering your questions in the comment sections. And this code again is provided in my GitHub repository. The link to that will be also embedded in this description. So thank you for your time. I hope this was amazing. I hope you enjoyed this project, and tune in for some surprising things that are going to be coming in this channel. So see you all. Peace out. Let's go.